Hi, this is my Tormach 1100 I bought in 2007. I just thought I'd make a video on what I'm planning to do next is to dismantle the machine enough to shift it down these steps and move it into a new extension to the workshop I've built and rebuild the machine with an enclosure rather than this current table enclosure, and make a few other upgrades. Could be of interest for some of you CNC enthusiasts. So the plan is to partially strip the machine down, then move it over into this space of floor here, then lift the machine off the base onto this ceiling hanger that I've bolted onto the flooring frame there, and then lower, when it's up in the air, remove the base, then lower it back down onto a pallet trolley, which will be able to be wheeled out over these steps, because I'm going to build a little structure of a timber kind of platform, and then wheel it out to about this position until it's underneath this ceiling hanger. Then I can lift it up again with the chain hoist, remove the structure and lower it back down onto the floor on the pallet trolley, and then I can wheel it through to the destination. While I'm here, this is my little manual machine shop. Got two manual machines, Dali Condia, and a more recently purchased larger Chinese mill, larger Chinese lathe, my original little HG lathe. Go through to where the machine's going to go. Oh, this is a Brown and Sharp cylindrical grinder and a Kent surface grinder that I got back in about 78. This is the new workshop where the recently purchased Tormach 1100 is, with its enclosure. And I have space here for the new one, which is going to be a kind of a mini version of that. I'm going to build I plan to build a fairly small scale enclosure for it. Well, I've got the machine partially stripped down now and lifted free of the base. That's by using a chain hoist, as just mentioned, connected to the ceiling bracket, and just lifted off enough to swing to its natural centre of gravity, but it's still hovering over the stand, so it's quite safe so far. Then I'll lift it up an inch or so clear and get someone to help me to lift the stand out from underneath. Some of you might be wondering, is that safe? Well, it's quite safe if you overload the whole assembly first by climbing on board or adding some chucks or something to check it at a higher load rating before you lift the full height. Then you know you've got a factor of safety of that 100 kilos or so. Okay, we're just lowering the machine now, hanging off there. Step back. It's up in the air about 4 feet, which is a bit nerve-wracking. We're going to come down onto this structure. We'll get it down quickly because it just doesn't feel right up there in the air. Okay, that's the scary bit over with now. I know I tested it with a heavier load and in theory it was perfectly safe, but it just doesn't feel right having a machine up in the air 4 feet swinging around. It would just do so much damage if it came free. So here we are now down on the pallet trolley, ready to wheel it out on the platform to the next lifting point. Okay, well that was easy enough. We just simply rolled it forward on the pallet trolley on top of that little structure and swapped the chain hoist to the different ceiling hanger when it was about halfway between them. So we always had another level of safety connecting it to the ceiling. So now we're going to lower it down onto the floor, remove the structure underneath and lower it down onto the floor. Well, that went pretty easily really. I was worried the machine was going to jam in the doorway, but I just pulled the structure out from underneath and lowered it down onto the pallet truck and wheeled it out backwards. Okay, well, the final stage, wheeled it through one workshop out onto the sloping driveway, which needed a steadying hand, and then in line with the new workshop destination, used the trolley jack to lift it up onto some blocks and put some planks in underneath and put the trolley jack on top so that we can wheel it through into the new workshop. Meanwhile, there's a thunderstorm going on outside. There we are in the new workshop. Here's our railway tracks and packing blocks. This is a good place to work on it because I've got another lifting bracket in the ceiling here, a bar between the joists. We can do the build. This is the frame that I hung the Tormach off, just so you have a feel for it. This is about 5 inches deep, and I put a piece of a bit lighter than 4x2 on either side, but it didn't even flex under load. It's really, you don't need a lot of framing to take the weight of those machines. These 5x2s could probably take well over a ton, probably 2 tons before you'd be in trouble. And this is where it came from, and there's a little pigeonhole for the Y-axis motor if you need to tuck it in close to the wall.